Hello, everyone. Heather Holmes here with KTV Fox 2 News in the San Francisco Bay Area. And joining me today is Dr. Scott Barry Kaufman. He is a humanistic psychologist and also an author, and he's going to be talking with us about the coronavirus and its impact on our mental health. Doctor, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on to talk about this important topic.
Yeah, it certainly is important, especially right now. Let's start off with the coronavirus and how it is, in fact, impacting our mental health right now.
Well, there are significant increases you're seeing in SSRI, to antidepressant medication, anti-anxiety medication. You're seeing a little bit of increase in suicides. Loneliness is a big trigger of a lot of that. We talk a lot about the importance of flattening the curve in terms of the exposure of the virus, but I don't think we talk as much about the importance of flattening the curve, the psychological curve. We need to flatten the psychological curve of anxiety and panic. And whenever there's great uncertainty, the greater the uncertainty, the more our brain kind of goes into this state of panic and deep anxiety. And learning how to get the skills to manage that uncertainty is going to be really important for our mental health.
Right. So, how do we do that?
Well, there's a bunch of things to keep in mind while we're going through this. It's obviously a tough time, but we have to learn how to be with our uncomfortable emotions. For many of us, we've never been with our uncomfortable emotions this long. Whenever we would start to feel it, we would call up our friend Jenny or something and be like, "Hey, let's go party," or something, and then you would get out. Now you're kind of being stuck inside to have to deal with that. And a lot of things we can do to really learn how to be with that for the first time, for many people for the first time. One is, I think, journaling is really helpful, to at least just 15, 20 minutes a day. It's called expressive writing, to be able to write down on paper or on digitally, what are the thoughts that are bringing up the strongest emotions in you, the greatest fears, the greatest worries. Research shows that if you can unload that from your working memory, so to speak, and put it down, that would be really helpful. Another thing is obviously meditation. People talk a lot about that, but really just sitting there and watching your thoughts as though they're like on a carousel, and they keep going around and around, because they will just keep going around and around all day long. And they want to be attached to your emotions some way, but you don't have to do that. You can just watch it, and as non-judgmentally. We can practice acceptance of the situation, and try to reprioritize our meanings and get outside ourselves. So research shows that one of the greatest antidotes to anxiety is just helping someone, or showing someone that you care about them.
It seems as though a lot of people are experiencing this anxiety, this depression. Are you surprised at all by how people are adjusting these stay-at-home orders and this isolation?
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, it's pretty predictable based on what we know about human nature and just how much we don't like uncertainty. See, the thing that's driving people, I shouldn't say nuts, that's not a professional term. What's really making people so upset is the fact that we don't know when is the date. I mean, we would feel better even if we knew, like, it was a year from now. There was a specific date. We had a specific date in mind. And it's particularly stressful for people with certain personality traits like neuroticism, or people who suffer from OCD. This is like their worst nightmare. A lot of people with OCD and neuroticism would prefer a bad news to not having any news and not knowing when they're going to have the news. And it's interesting. So I think it is pretty predictable, and particularly in certain people, it's even that they're really this concerned, and it makes sense. But it doesn't mean there's not things that we can do to be much better.
Yeah, I want to talk with you about what exactly it is that you do, and being a humanistic psychologist. Explain a little bit more about what that is.
Well, I'm interested in what can we do to self-actualize, to become all that we're capable of becoming, realizing our full potential. And my research on what it means to realize your full potential from a humanistic perspective shows that we need to bring our whole self into the picture. We can't just try to, whenever we feel anxious, we try to quarantine it, from the rest of us. We bring all this into our creative productivity, into our into our whole daily approach to life. So we harness that dark side, so to speak. Humanistic psychology is about the whole person, and really an integration of all these sides of ourselves, so that we feel like we have inner harmony. Wouldn't you like inner harmony?
Oh gosh, I think we all would.
Yeah.
I know that when you were writing this book, you weren't really thinking about the coronavirus. It was before that. But now
Mm.
knowing that you've written this book, what is it that's in the book that people can relate to and use right now in order to cope with this outbreak?
A major point of this book is that we have security needs like connection and safety and self-esteem that need to be satisfied to a certain degree before we can uh, grow and before we can go towards exploration, and that we're constantly going for fear versus exploration. We're toggling back and forth between the two, and unsure which to choose. And I think this book can really inspire people to wake up every morning and continue to choose the growth option, choose the exploration. Your life doesn't have to stop and be put on halt during this time, just because there's so much uncertainty. One of my favorite humanistic psychologists, Viktor Frankl, was in the concentration camps, and wrote and saw that people there were still able to find meaning and joy in what they were doing. Obviously, it was a horrible situation, but people who had hope for what are they going to be when they get out of the concentration camp, they seem to be healthier. They seem to live longer. And so I think for all of us, what are some lessons we can learn from the most dire circumstances? Well, first of all, I think there's a great human resiliency that we don't realize, and it's usually only till we're tested till we realize, oh wow, I actually have that level of resiliency. But also, I think people can use this time for growth and to really think, what kind of person do I want to be when the world returns to what some semblance of normal again? You know, who do we want to be? And let's start. We can still work towards that every single day of our lives.
How do you though work towards kind of being your best self when you're kind of struggling with just the necessities, uncertain about your job future, dealing with kids and homeschooling. It just
Yeah,
seems like trying to be your best person may be a little difficult to do right now.
it's very difficult, but it's also a great opportunity to practice what that would look like, even within the context of all those things you just mentioned. So, dealing with your children, you want to yell at them, but you take the mindful approach, and you think about, well, what would the best version of myself, how they react to that situation. You try your best, and you don't have to stop being your best self just because there is all these stressors. There's a distinction made in the psychological field between stressors and stress. You can have all these stressors. You can have children yelling at you. You can have the floor falling, and you get all these things, or the ceiling falling in the floor, whatever. You can have all these things happen. All these fires to put out, and you can still keep a certain equanimity about it. And that's the kind of skills I'm trying to learn. I know I sound like very Buddhist about it, but I try to practice that.
So for a mom or dad that might be watching this, we talked a little bit about journaling. What are some other things that they can do maybe throughout the day to kind of be their best and to also make sure that they don't let this situation get the best of them?
Yeah. So a lot of people talk about the importance of gratitude, and gratitude is sometimes treated as though it's having appreciation for new things and people that come and do nice things for you. But what's really even more important for well-being is having gratitude and what's called what Abraham Maslow called newness of appreciation for things you've already seen over and over again that might be stale to others. To the extent to which you're living with the same people every day, if you can discover new depths of their being, so to speak, new aspects of who they are, you can you're going to be much happier in life. This is going to be such an important skill to learn, because people realize that after achieving things, after being productive, after doing all the work, all the things they did before this, they still weren't happy. I mean, if they're honest with themselves, were they really happy then? Now is an opportunity to actually be happy with what you have. And all the psychological research shows that the more that you can learn how to be happy and have gratitude for the things in your life that you see every single day, the more you'll feel a deeper level of fulfillment in your life overall, and the more you can grow meaning in these things. You can't get meaning in things that are ephemeral or new all the time.
Mm-hmm. So tell everyone the name of the book.
The book is called Transcend: The New Science of Self-Actualization.
Okay. And again, for folks at home who might be thinking, hey, this sounds like something I would like to read, especially now. What would you tell them?
Well, I would say, if you feel like you're neglecting your higher possibilities, you feel like you're stagnated, you're sitting there and you're not growing in any way, you're not growing your full potential, and you're really frustrated about that. This book has activities, things you can do today, no matter what your circumstances are. Again, Viktor Frankl said, "Say yes to life despite the circumstances," and that's the kind of message I'm trying to spread here as well.
All right. Really appreciate it. Dr. Scott Barry Kaufman, thanks so much for coming on and best of luck with the book. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.